And Major Garrett, perhaps you recognize him, CBS News' chief White House correspondent.
Poor things.
You're on set, so you got a long layover, I see.
Yeah. 17 minutes.
I want to start with what we just heard there, the end from Melania Trump yesterday. Obviously, critics seized on what they would call the hypocrisy, the irony of the statements delivered there. What was the reaction, though, within the campaign to a curious message delivered by a curious messenger?
Look, one of the things that I think we have to begin to, if we haven't already, wrap our minds around with the Trump campaign is it delights in these kinds of moments of irony. They know what they're doing. They know that there's something that people will look at and say, oh my God, can you believe they just did that? Because the process of saying, oh my God, can you believe they just did that? What does it do? It amplifies the entire message.
Here we are talking about it.
It brings it out even more. And I'm not even sure it's worthy of the name strategy, but it is an insight in the way to drive who you are, what you are, and everything about you. And drawing that controversy is as skillful and as persistent a part of the entire Trump atmosphere and messaging as anything else. So Melania does this thing. She could have talked about any one of 100 topics suitable for a future first lady. Most of them conventional. Most of them, if history is any guide, kind of boring. So what does she do? She lands on the one thing that her husband has a history of, and a not productive or, in every instance, kind or compassionate history on. And what does it do? It amplifies it even more.
And yet, the spouse, in this case, the wife of the candidate, is, as we really talked about at the conventions, is the one person we can count on to humanize someone. Obviously, Donald Trump, in weeks recent, has had massive problems with female voters. This was meanwhile, back at the ranch, a huge opportunity to at least communicate there being no issue with what has dogged her husband's campaign of late. And done by a woman who's made it very clear, I'm not very comfortable on this stuff. I really don't want to be here. And if nothing else, you could feel that yesterday as well. So I get that they are looking to amplify a message and dare us to react, perhaps. But also, wasn't there just a real opportunity missed here? Possibly, but in the end, the Trump campaign knows something very fundamental about this race. Melania is at the margins of what's going to happen on Election Day. Don Jr. is at the margins, Eric, Ivanka, Rudy Giuliani, Chris Christie, all the surrogates. Look, they are Lilliputians next to Gulliver. Okay, they don't matter. No one is going to walk into a polling booth and decide their vote based on anything a child or spouse of Donald Trump says, or a political ally of Donald Trump. The verdict of this country, one way or the other, is going to be about Donald Trump and only Donald Trump. So how's he done here then in the last, well, especially since revelations of the letter sent by Jim Comey to Congress, do you think, in staying on message as he weaves what for him has to be described as something of there's a positive leitmotif now, it would appear, in his public appearances. How do you think he's done? Well, he has sensed victory is possible. And those closest to him tell me, and this is the phrase they keep using over and over, he smells it. And they say, people who've known Donald Trump a long time, in business or whatever endeavor, when he smells something, he locks in totally, and doesn't need to be handled anymore. And as we discussed, I believe, yesterday, I've lost track, Trump says this out loud now. Keep it cool. Stay on message. Donald, don't blow it. I mean, he's saying it out loud. He loses his inner monologue into his stuff. It's like being John Malkovich or something. You know, it's in his own head, so he says it out loud. And that sense that he has is what is putting him on the road 5-6 events a day, driving him all these different places. Now, that sense is precisely that, a hunch. We're not sure, but a lot of Republicans I'm talking to, in ways that they simply never said before, are saying to me, I can see a path. And it's not an impossible one. Increasingly to them, it's not only possible, but plausible. Many, many things have to break for Donald Trump. And I'll say this. If on election night Trump wins, what we will look back on is say that there was a collective psychological movement in the last week that embraced change and decoupled itself from the possibility of a Clinton presidency, which the country had been acculturating itself to literally for weeks.
And if
that circuit breaker occurs, it will be a collective circuit breaker, meaning close states more or less will fall in a domino fashion. That's what Trump needs. He needs dominoes, not one or two states breaking.
It would be you're reporting about the hidden Trump math. These people who want to be on the right side of history,
Exactly.
They kind of want to see him win, reluctant GOP voters, the silent majority, all of it.
Right.
It's all there. And so
what psychologists would call a collective.
And so it would seem for a candidate who has been on the road and loves those crowds, looking at his weekend, your weekend itinerary,
yes.
there's a real feeling of we ain't seen nothing yet.
No, and they're going to the mattresses. I mean, everywhere they can go as fast as they can, deploying every surrogate. Mike Pence is going to be just as busy as Donald Trump, and they're going to be in places that are part of a map that's not just a 270, but that's slightly larger if everything breaks. So Virginia is a classic example. Literally, on Wednesday, nobody in the Trump campaign and Trump Tower would have given $1 to do anything in Virginia. Polls came in, they said, holy smokes, we can win this place. We can win Virginia, not just make it competitive, not just pin Hillary Clinton down, we can win Virginia. I talked to a Republican yesterday who heard that there is a tightening in Oregon. What? Oregon? Now, when a state like Oregon, even theoretically, comes on the map, and this is not a Republican who is a huge Trump Kool-Aid drinker. They've been like, well, I'm not really sure. But they're all collecting data, and they're all sifting things. Oregon? Seriously? What? Hello? I don't know if it's true or not, but it's true enough that this skilled, experienced Republican felt it was worthwhile to mention to me, if not in passing.
A couple campaign chairmen ago, I do believe that was one of the states that they said, hey, we're expanding the map when he spent a few days in Connecticut as well. Who knows? Major Garrett, as someone who knows, it just comes into your head, and so you say it out loud. No truer words. Every now and again.
It's the story of my career.
Broken clocks, right, twice a day, at least in the pre-digital era. We do appreciate it.
Analog.
Yes.
That's me.
That's you.